You learn more from your mistakes than from your successes. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before he succeeded with the light bulb. And I've made many mistakes as a teacher, still make lots of mistakes. When I first started teaching, and I had a year one class, I had many experiences that taught me what not to do. And when I started using group work, thinking that it was such a great strategy and I knew the benefits of social learning, I had a classroom that ended up in a complete mess. There were kids rolling around on the floor. Some of them were bossing each other around, and some of them went off on their own to read in the reading corner. It was really a mess and a disaster. And what I learned was that I needed to be well prepared and set the students up for success. So the next time I did group work, I explicitly taught the students and practiced what they needed to do and had clear expectations around what they were going to do. I allowed the students to work in pairs first rather than working in groups. Barry Bennett, in a Thinking and Caring approach, talks about having kids work in pairs with everyone in the classroom before they actually go on to group work, so that you're giving them the skills that they need to work with other people. And then the third thing that I learned was that I needed to give kids roles in their groups. So teaching them what each of those roles were and then giving them opportunities to practice that in role plays. So can you think of a time when you've made a mistake? What are the lessons that you learned from those mistakes? In this video, I'll share with you the benefits of making mistakes and why sharing them with your students will help them to learn, will help them to take risks, and will help to develop a growth mindset. Show students that you're not perfect and that you make mistakes too, either in an area that's an area of weakness for you or when you're learning something new. And when we learn something new, we do make mistakes because we're just figuring it out as we go along. And most of us aren't perfect the first time, or even perhaps the 10th time. When you show students that making mistakes is normal and that when they're learning, they're making mistakes, it helps them to take risks with their learning and to try harder when the learning is difficult. My name's Mari Amaro and I'm the Principal Presenter at The Highly Effective Teacher. I'm a teacher and I've been working with students and supporting teachers for over 30 years. I'm passionate about teacher wellbeing and I combine research and experience to provide strategies that will improve teacher wellbeing, especially in incorporating practices that take no extra time and can actually give you back time because you're working more effectively. I love coaching teachers so that they thrive in the teaching profession, not just survive. Improved teacher wellbeing means improved student wellbeing, and that contributes to better outcomes academically and socially for all our students. If you'd like to learn more about teacher wellbeing, please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so that you receive notifications of all our videos. And when you subscribe, that helps to support the channel, means that we can keep making these videos to get information and support out to all teachers. John Holt, the author of How Children Learn and How Children Fail, took violins as an adult. He used that experience to inform his understanding of how his students learned, and he shared his struggles in learning to play the violin with his students so that they could see what it was that they needed to do when they were learning something and how to get better at doing a task. Sharing your mistakes with your students will help to build relationships with them because you're sharing yourself as well as making it okay to fail. Number 1, model making mistakes and learning from your mistakes. A positive classroom culture promotes risk-taking and recognises that learning involves making mistakes. When teachers show students that learning is about progress, not perfection, students are more likely to attempt difficult work and challenge themselves to improve. Students will benefit from seeing you make mistakes and hearing about mistakes that you've made. This can help them to understand that everyone makes mistakes and that's how we learn. You can also share stories with your students about something that you once found hard and that now you do quite easily. And as well as that, something that you're working on right now. Reinforce students for having a go and for having persistence when a task is difficult rather than for getting everything correct. Let them know that learning something new is often hard and that they've already learnt lots of hard things. There are things that they once thought they'd never be able to do and that now they take for granted. If you'd like to learn more about how to create a positive classroom culture so that kids feel safe to take risks, check out our videos on how to create a positive classroom culture and more ways to create a positive classroom culture, because there's lots of elements that contribute to a positive, safe, predictable environment that is safe for you and for all your students. Number 2, promote a growth mindset. I'm one of 8 children, and my dad tended to categorise each of us according to our talent or our lack of talent. And I was one of the smart ones, but not very practical, whereas another of my sisters was considered to be really organised and practical, but not too bright. And this kind of led me to believe that I'm not very practical or very organised, and that I could never be that. And as a teacher and as part of an education system, I can see how this kind of thinking has impacted students and explains why there are people who don't achieve at school but go on to achieve really well in the world. The work of Carol Dweck around growth mindset really highlights this, and while ever we believe that any skill is fixed and that we cannot change it, we're holding ourselves and our students back. A growth mindset is an integral part of a positive classroom culture because the concept embraces the value of failure, determination, effort, and resilience. There were many studies that Carol Dweck talked about in her book, and she proved that when teachers believe that an ability is movable and can be improved through effort and determination, then students achieve much better results. When she spoke about a researcher called Falco Reinberg, he studied how students' academic achievement was influenced by a teacher's mindset. And what he found was that when teachers believe that ability is fixed, the students end the year at pretty much the same level as they began the year. For example, if they were in the bottom group at the beginning of the year, then they'd still be in the bottom group at the end of the year. But when teachers taught with a growth mindset, it didn't matter where the students began, all students progressed and developed to a much higher level. And there was much more movement between ability groups as the students learnt and improved. And number 3, explicitly teach students what learning means. Discuss the process of learning with your students. Show to them that you're a lifelong learner by sharing your learning experiences and the things that you're learning about. For example, if you're taking tennis lessons or learning to play a musical instrument, show students how you've progressed and tell them the things that you're finding really hard. Encourage students to reflect on what their learning journey looks like. For example, when they first learned to ride a bike or they've learned to swim. Emphasise that when we're learning something new, we rarely do it perfectly the first time. Progress, not perfection. Thanks for watching our video. Stay safe and happy teaching.